Hello everyone, this is Aimsell, back at it again with another Arcane Odyssey video, and for today's video I'm going to be talking about the best warlocks currently in 1.14 in Arcane Odyssey. But before I continue, a like and sub would be greatly appreciated as I'm trying to reach 7k subs by the end of this month. So I'm going to go over each fighting style and the best magics for each one, starting with the best one in my opinion, which is Sailofist. Now if you have a look at its stats on the Arcane Odyssey wiki, Sailofist simply just has the best stats in the game if you think about it. Now Iron Leg is sort of comparable to Sailofist, however it has no synergies, it's slower than Sailofist by far, it does a similar amount of damage and has smaller attack size. Now in terms of damage, Iron Leg might do slightly more because it's 0.925. And then you have to include bleed. So talking about Sailofist, the best magics for Sailofist at the moment in my opinion are Snow, Ice, and Lightning. Now the reason why they're so good is because they synergize with Sailofist, because Sailofist applies Soaked to whatever target you are hitting with it, and those magics synergize with the status effect called Soaked. So Ice is really good because it does insane amounts of damage and it literally freezes soaked targets, like puts them in an ice cube and stuns them. But this is really overpowered because you can literally get a free hit while they're frozen for that 1 second. If you talk about Snow Magic is very similar to Ice in that regard. It also freezes targets. However, it does less damage, but it is a lot faster. So Ice is like a heavy hitting magic, and that does lots of damage, and Snow is like a faster, more nimble magic, but does less damage. So if you're gonna go Sailofist, you can choose whatever one of those that you want to go for. But Lightning also works very well because Lightning deals extra damage and paralyzes soaked targets. When you have it imbued in your Sailofist, you literally paralyze people. Not even talking about the stun, Lightning is insanely fast, so it's just very quick. Has 1.5 times speed, Snow is like 1.2 or 1.3 times I think, and Ice is like below 1 times speed. So for this build that I did make in this video, also I did do some PvP with it. I'll show you the clips later on at the end of the video. I did go for Lightning Sailofist because I like speed, and yeah, so that's basically the best for Sailofist. Now moving on to Iron Leg. Honestly, Iron Leg can go with anything, however I recommend a fast magic because Iron Leg by itself is pretty slow. So to compensate for that lack of speed and nimbleness, I recommend with going a pretty fast magic to make up for it. So moving on to the next one, Thermo Fist. Thermo Fist at the moment is absolute dog shit. If you're using Thermo Fist, just get off of it. Thermo Fist is alright for Warlord at the moment. It's still pretty decent for Warlord. The Dark Sea update has changed a lot of things, and nerfing Thermo Fist, the heat gain and maintenance for the heat bar is something that they've nerfed heavily. It's almost impossible to maintain your heat if you use Thermo Fist, unlike Sailofist where it's incredibly easy and it lasts for a very long time. If you're using Thermo Fist, you have to be attacking non-stop 24/7, and even if you get to low health and you have to stop attacking and sort of play passively, you're cooked, you're done for, because when your heat is below 50%, you don't apply burn anymore and it doesn't synergize with anything and you're basically a sitting duck. So Thermo Fist at full heat does decent damage. It's not a lot though, but whenever it's not in full heat, which for the majority of the time it's going to be not full heat at all because of how difficult it is to maintain Thermo Fist right now, you're not going to be doing any damage. So I recommend just hopping off that and going to something like Iron Leg or Sailofist or something like that. So if you want to keep on using Thermo Fist, then the best magics for Thermo Fist is stuff like Sand, Ash, Magma, Fire, Wood, stuff like that, because they all synergize with the status effect Burn, which is what Thermo Fist applies when your Thermo Fist heat bar is over 50%. So yeah, those are the best magics for Thermo Fist. Now moving on to basic combat. Basic combat is pretty decent, but it's simply just a worse version of Sailofist without any synergies. It has the same speed, it has the same damage as Sailofist, except it has smaller attack size, and it has no synergies. So for basic combat, you can go with whatever you want as well, but personally, for basic combat, I recommend stuff like Shadow because of its insane stats. The Shadow does a lot of damage, is pretty fast, and has good size. So if you're gonna go basic combat, I recommend personally using Shadow, but obviously you can go with whatever magic you want. And moving on to the last one, which is Cannon Fist. Don't even talk to me about Cannon Fist. It's literally the worst in the game. I'd argue, yeah, it is worse than Thermo Fist. If you're using Cannon Fist, you're either a troll running a max swim speed build, you're going around fucking grieving some level 60 ship like a fucking torpedo, or you don't know what you're doing. Like if you're using Cannon Fist, it's either one of those two. So yeah. Now moving on to the build that that I have for this lightning Sailorfist Warlock that I have right here. So yeah, let's get straight on to the build. So as you can see here, I'm gonna go over my stats real quick. First, I'm using 60 power, 816 defense, 134 attack size, 126 attack speed, and 62 agility. So basically for Warlocks, attack size is pretty important because attack size works very, very well with Warlocks. If you've ever PvP'd one of those cancerous fucking Sailorfist or Iron Leg Warlocks with huge AoE, then this is exactly why they're using big attack size. So to achieve this, I'm using an armored Atlantean sunken chest piece, I'm using an explosive Calvus's cape, I'm using a brisk Sernix folds, I'm using an armored Sernix boots, and an agile Calvus crown. And for the gems on these, these are, so all the blue ones here are Candelera, and these two are Agate. And Candelera here gives 9 attack speed and 3 power. I've got 2 of them in each one, and Agate gives defense and attack size. So yeah, basically these enchants are all Dark Sea ones, so you're gonna have to go into the Dark Sea, get some chests, and come back and open them, and you'll be able to get these enchantment scrolls. But aside from that, all these items aren't actually Dark Sea items. You can get this all in the Bronze Sea, which makes this a pretty easily, like, you know, accessible build for a lot of people. Maybe except from the, you know, sunken chest piece. That might be difficult for some people to get their hands on. But anyways, this gives 12 power, 368 defense, and 54 attack size, but it also gives 1 insanity. But insanity 1 is not really an issue. Basically you get some effects sometimes, but they're not really annoying in any way, and you don't take any damage. So yeah, you can deal with insanity 1. I personally wouldn't even go for insanity 2, it's a bit too annoying. So yeah, that's basically the build. And so later on this video I did some PvP with this build, so yeah, stay tuned for that. But for now I'm gonna go over the magic and strength things that I have right here. So for crash, I typically have this at 100% because if you're going to go all AoE, just go all in. Although 50% is completely usable as well. It's not that much smaller and does a pretty good amount of damage, but 100% is pretty fun. So for smash, I have 3 amount on shockwave with 100% explosion size, obviously, because I've got to get that attack size. Honestly, for most builds I recommend going 2, but because of how fucking fast this build is, you can do 3 hits in the matter of like a quarter of a second, so 3 is completely fine. In fact, you could probably even bump up to 4 and you'd probably be fine. So for rushdown, I just have a 1 hit because sometimes currently rushdown can bug like halfway through it and you don't achieve anything from it. You know, the way to fix this is to have it at 1 hit and then it's basically a guaranteed finisher. For shots, I have 50% because honestly 50% is not that much more difficult to use over 100%, but it does give a pretty big buff in damage, so that's why I use 50%. And for focus, I just use power focus. Although defense is really nice as well. If you want to get extra more defense, honestly though, you don't really need more defense with this build. So speed could be pretty fun considering how fast it already is. If you can go even faster, you're going to be like fucking Sonic. So yeah, use something like power or speed with this build. And I have Seleno right here, which is the most broken fucking ability in the game aside from like Surge. It is truly insane, and I've got it at 3 hits here. I don't think the animation really matters too much. So yeah, that's for the strength. For the magic right here, I just have blast, place explosion, although I really do not use this at all. I might as well just remove it, honestly. For blast, 100% size, left hand across, I'm at 1. For leap, I have it set at 1. Some people prefer 5 to like stay in the air for slightly longer, but I don't really care about that. And plus 1 boosts you higher into the air, so yeah. And lightning beam, really amazing, really useful as well. 100%, pretty normal stuff. And yeah, that's basically my magic configuration as well as strength configuration. So yeah, I think that's all for the build. Now it's time for the PvP clips.
Nate, go yard.